When I was in college, I worked at Walmart. The one I worked at was a 24-hour one, so a couple of unfortunate people would always be stuck working that awful shift. I thought, since I was 20 and in college, that my boss would never put me on an overnight shift. Unfortunately, I guess when she saw my school schedule and I told her I was off Mondays and Wednesdays, she saw me as a perfect sucker to stick on the overnight shift occasionally. Moving forward, one day I saw that I was scheduled for a Tuesday night from 12 a.m. to 8 a.m. I had to triple-check the schedule to make sure that was right. I felt sick seeing that, and when I asked my supervisor why I was put on the overnight shift, he told me if I'm over 18, I don't really have a choice. I considered quitting, but I needed the job and money. So I just sucked it up and decided I'd do it this one time, and then tell my boss I can't do it ever again because I have to study for school. So I arrived at the store at 12 o'clock and relieved my coworker Amanda. Half the lights in the store were out at this hour to save on electricity. There were surprisingly many customers in the store when I got there. I guess more people than I expected would do quick midnight shopping runs. Past 1 a.m. though, the place was completely dead, maybe 3 customers in the entire hour. As it got later in the night, there were less and less customers. It was past 2 a.m. by this point, and I was as bored as humanly possible. There hadn't been a customer in over an hour. I wondered if there were any other employees in the building. There had to be, I figured. They couldn't have a lone 20-year-old running the whole place by himself. There was some bald guy who looked like he could be a manager that kept passing by the front registers every few minutes. He had a key ring attached with like 10 keys on it, and he was holding a small backpack-type bag in his hand. So I said, "Excuse me, are you the manager?" He came over and asked if it was my first day on the job, to which I said it was my first night shift. He shook my hand without giving me his name and asked me if I could go to the back warehouse of the store and organize the pallets. He said he'd watch the front. I didn't exactly know what that meant, but I'd figure it out. I walked towards the back of the store, and as I did, I saw him doing something to the entrance door of the store, like he was reaching for some switch on the side of it as if he were locking it. I made my way into the back warehouse, where I saw a tall man who looked like he was 30, wearing a manager's vest that said Walmart. He saw my apron and introduced himself as Rob, the night manager. I said, "Oh, I thought the guy in the front was the night manager." He looked puzzled and said, "Who?" When I described that man from before, he asked me to show him who I was talking about because he was the only manager on duty. We didn't even make it out of the warehouse before all the lights in the store turned off. Rob told me to wait in the warehouse while he checks out what's going on. I watched as he walked through the warehouse doors into the darkness of the store, with the only light out there being from the lights of the dairy coolers that were still on. I sat on a box on the pallet and was on my phone, trying to text any of my friends who could have been awake about what was happening, when I heard a door from inside the warehouse opening. I was on the other side of the warehouse, separated by the freezer and dairy fridge. There were 2 ways in and out of the warehouse, back into the store. I still sat there, now with my ears perked up, listening for any sounds when I heard quiet, slow footsteps getting closer, followed by a voice saying, "Hey kid, you in here?" But it wasn't Rob's voice. It was that bald guy's voice. I hurried out the warehouse doors into the store, but quietly. I jogged to the front of the store, looking for Rob, but I couldn't find him. I called out his name, nothing. I grabbed my jacket and tried to open the exit door, but it wouldn't open automatically, so I tried to physically open it, but it was locked. I heard footsteps approaching from behind me, and I turned and almost screamed, but I realized it was Rob, the manager. He flicked some lever or something on the top right of the door and unlocked it. He said in a panicked whisper to hurry and get outside. He followed behind me. We left the store, and he got right on the phone with the police, and I heard his whole conversation. He said he believed an armed man locked himself into the store and was probably trying to rob the place. I told him to tell the police that I think he was coming to harm me in the warehouse, which he relayed to the operator. He told me I should go wait in my car or leave. I'm sure because he didn't want the store to be held liable for anything if something were to happen. I went and sat in my car and just watched for a little while, and within 10 minutes, there were at least 4 police cars outside the store. They all went inside for a while, and I didn't see whatever was going on, so I left. I didn't quit after that, though. He cut the lights in the store. The cameras showed him going straight to the warehouse where he told me to go. That's the scariest part to me, because if he were armed and robbing the place, he could have been on his way to put a gun to my head or something. The camera showed him leaving through the emergency exit in the warehouse way before the police arrived. In the end, I never worked an overnight shift again after talking to my boss, and I stayed at that job for another few months. I'm not sure if that man was ever identified. Take a second to subscribe and like the video to help the channel grow. See you next time around. Take care.